Hey guys, Sean here with that brand new all horror DVD and Blu-ray collection update video. I talk about all the horror DVDs and Blu-rays that I received a review and talk about it for you guys. I always like to do these all horror videos anytime I have like a whole bunch of titles, so I have some really cool stuff to show you guys. Like I always say too, if you guys enjoy my videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Also in the comments below, let me know what you guys thought of the titles that I reviewed in this video. If you guys have seen any of these ones and your take on them. Also let me know too, any titles coming up that you guys like me to review for future videos, as well as some of the horror DVDs and Blu-rays which you guys have picked up recently. Now the first one I got here is from Arrow Video. This is the Herschell Gore and Lewis film here called The Wizard of Gore. This one I always really liked. They also had a remake of this film directed by Jeremy Caston, which starred, Crispin Glover. Jeremy Caston actually has an interview on this one as well, but I always like that remake as well. I mean, you don't hear about that one too often. This is another Herschell Gore and Lewis one though that I always really liked, and it's, if you guys don't know Herschell Gore and Lewis though, he was always called and known as the Godfather of Gore. He was one of the very first people to make films that were really featuring gore, and they were all about super gory, over the top, insane special effects, where the movies were really focusing on putting all the emphasis on the effects and gross out factor of the gore and all that stuff, which was not what was going on at the time. He was one of the first people to really be starting that kind of stuff in his films. This one, though, is basically about this magician, and he kind of goes around with his show, and he calls people up for his show to be, like, assistants and everything, and he does, like, the typical kind of tricks, sawing people in half and that kind of stuff, but it's not the typical way that they normally are, where it's just, like, a thing, they saw him in half, there's nothing, it's just, like, a regular old thing. When he does it, it's like he gets sawed in half, people get sawed in half, and it's, like, gore and, like, intestines and all kinds of crazy stuff going on, but then people in the audience are watching, they're like, well, could this be real? Is this really happening? What's going on here? But then, the people end up walking away totally fine. But later end up being found dead. And it's kind of like, what is going on? It's this woman who has this talk show, and she's kind of looking into this and like thinking that there may actually have to be something to do with this magician, and he may actually be in on the whole thing. This is a really fun movie. On here, though, it also has the bonus feature on here, the 1968 film that Herschell Gore and Lewis did as well, called How to Make a Doll. It has introductions on both films by Herschell Gore and Lewis, as well as commentary track on The Wizard of Gore, and it also has some actor interviews with some of the actors in the movie as well. But it's a really fun movie. Highly recommend you guys check it out. The next ones here are all from 3 different steelbooks from FYE. You guys can order these ones on FYE's website. I have a link below, or you guys can find these in store at FYE. These are some really cool new steelbooks. The first one here is the film Phantasm, the original Phantasm film. This is the remastered Blu-ray, and I really love this film. I feel like too, like, this is one of those movies that's one of those ones that like is absolutely a must-watch and has like amazing synth music. Like, I love the music in this. It's just a really creepy movie. They had, a bunch of sequels to the film as well. I feel like all the sequels were really fun movies. They're definitely worth watching, but the first movie is an absolute must-watch. I love it so much. This is a really cool steelbook. Here's a look at the back of this one. The next one, steelbook that they sent as well, is the zombie film here, Train to Busan. This is another one. I feel like this is probably one of my favorite zombie films in the last couple of years. And I love the setting because it all takes place on this train. And it's just like the fact of being stuck on a train with these zombies and like basically not being able to get off because the train is moving and everything is a really cool concept. And it's dealing with this guy and his daughter and him trying to protect her. It's definitely an absolute must watch. Inside too, you see the zombie and the zombie face. And the last steelbook that they sent over is the Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez film, Grindhouse. I remember seeing this movie in theaters, and I remember there was like a lot of confusion with this movie. Because I remember, they played the movies back to back, and like people at the time like had never really seen stuff like that, unless they saw Grindhouse movies in the 70s or something when they had back-to-back double features and stuff. But I remember there was all kind of confusion, and like some people were getting up after the first movie and leaving. I remember all that kind of stuff, and I think some theaters might not have even ran it as a double feature. I don't know if I'm right about that. I can't 100% remember, but this is a really cool one, and I love the inside of this because it has the lobby cards of the, like the old school like lobby cards from the movies in these. And this is one of those movies too, another one. If you guys haven't seen this is just such a fun movie. The next ones here are from Mill Creek. This is an anthology series here called Chillers, and this is the one I had never seen before, had never heard of, and it's hosted by Anthony Perkins, who's best known for Psycho, and one of my other favorite movies that he was in was Crimes of Passion. That's a really great movie, a Ken Russell film. But I also really love the Psycho sequels as well. But he's always so good. Everything he's been in, he was amazing. And this is really cool because, like I said, he's the host of the segments. He starts off the segment, then it goes to the horror thriller kind of series. And I believe this was a UK series, and I don't know for sure if it aired in the US or when it did or what channel or anything. That's one thing that's so cool though with Mill Creek is that they release lesser known TV series and stuff like that. I really love that kind of stuff, especially love anthology series. Let me know too if you guys can think of any other more obscure anthology series you don't hear about too much, because some of my favorite ones, of course, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, Monsters. Those are some of those ones I feel and of course the Twilight Zone that you hear about more often. But I don't know if there's any other super obscure ones. But like I said, really cool to see this one released from them. It also includes a digital version of the series as well. The next one here is from Mill Creek as well. This is a double feature, and it has two different films here. The first one is Nightwing and Shadow of the Hawk. Shadow of the Hawk stars Jan Michael Vincent, who was from Airwolf, and he was in Buffalo 66. I didn't think of some other things that he was in. Of course, the original Mechanic. I always thought he was really pretty cool. But it's both of these films deal with stuff with Native Americans and stuff that was happening. They're both sort of set on reservations, and Nightwing deals with these crazy killer bats and people getting killed by these bats, and Shadow of a Hawk deals with Jan Michael Vincent character who is coming back to where he grew up, and there's sort of weird things going on there. He starts kind of diving into his past that he kind of doesn't remember too much about, and he kind of starts looking into everything. These are actually really pretty cool, creepy, lesser-known movies as well, and both of them they'll look really, really good on Blu-ray. They did a really good job in the transfers of these. But like I said, I love when Mill Creek puts out lesser-known stuff. It's just really pretty cool thing. The next one's here. I have a link where you guys can order these ones for the best price. And this one, and these are all from. I think this one here is from Cranked Up Films. And this is a movie here called Don't Leave Home. And this is a pretty cool concept. The concept, too, was a little bit like in the movie The Witches with this painting where, the girl was trapped in the painting. It's kind of like that, but kind of reversed a little bit. This girl was painted, but then this painted by this weird tree that has some history behind it, but then all of a sudden the girl in the painting who was painted, she ends up vanishing from the painting and then vanishing from the world. No one knows where she is, so it's this whole mystery of what has happened. And it's years later this girl who's an artist is kind of hired to come in and paint this tree and everything, and as soon as she gets there, though, it ends up being some odd stuff going on there, and she starts realizing that there might, it's because it's for this church that she's painting and everything, and she has to paint this person there too, and she's realizing that there's something weird going on here, and it's kind of her looking into the history of all this, and it's very creepy. It's a very, very atmospheric movie. Really was very creepy. The next one here is called Eyes of the Dead, and this is from Red Hood Films. Red Hound Films. This, like I said, this is called Eyes of the Dead. This is essentially, it's done all sort of I guess you'd say Hardcore Henry was a movie that was recently like that, all POV style, but it's a POV style zombie film, which is kind of cool because it also deals with some of the perspective of a zombie in an aspect of this as well. It's essentially though about people who are getting together at this house for this kind of party, kind of like a get together thing, and little by little though zombie type things start happening because something happens to one person out there and they end up getting bit, and then it's the person that's from their perspective is bit too. Like I said, that's how it deals with a zombie perspective, and it's dealing with the changes but from the perspective of everything. And I don't know, it was actually pretty cool. I liked that it was very different like I said, it was all taking a whole zombie movie all from the POV of the person turning into a zombie, and that's kind of essentially what it is. I don't know, I like this, and it was all like sort of in real time. It was actually a pretty cool movie. And the last one from, this is from Red Hound Films as well. Like I said, all three of these ones, I have a link where you guys can order these ones, is here called The Outer Wild. This is sort of like a end of the world kind of post-apocalyptic kind of Mad Max style film. It's basically, though, about kind of like this girl who was like surviving out there and living, trying to sort of survive through all this stuff, because there's like kind of really crazy people out there, and people kind of going after everybody and killing people, and it's essentially, though, there's something about this girl that she has certain type of abilities or something to her where these people, like the sort of like the villain in the film, wants to kind of capture her, and he's trying to, because he thinks that he can, like, she has a certain type of a power or something that he can kind of use, and maybe it can be some type of a cure for what's going on. So it's essentially, though, about them trying to track down this girl and everything that they're going through. This has on here, though, a commentary track on here, as well as deleted scenes on this one as well. And the next one here is from Unearthed Films, and it's from their brand new line called Unearthed Classics, and this is the very first release on that line. It's a movie here called The Unnamable. This one has a really cool slipcover on this one. Really love this image on it. Like I said, it's called The Unnamable. I have to cover up the one thing just so no one says anything. This is a really, really cool creature film. The creature in this is so cool. Like, amazing makeup on this. Really love the music on this. And essentially, though, this is a movie about this house that has this history where they said that this creature had killed these people up in the attic and, was locked away up in this huge door and everything that locked this creature away for all these years. And essentially, though, these kids are all talking about it like it's sort of like it's the big legend and everything. And they're kind of talking about like why they're by the house and saying, oh, I dare you to go into this house. They're kind of daring each other to actually go inside this house to see if there actually could be any truth to this. Of course, though, them going in there was not a good thing, and really, really bad things are happening. It's a really, really fun movie. This has on here, though, a brand new 4K transfer of the film. It looks amazing. They did such a good job cleaning this one up. It has on here, though, a whole bunch of new interviews on this one. It has vintage audio track as well as photo galleries and trailers on this one. This is a really, really fun movie. Highly recommend you guys check that one out. The next one here is from Umbrella Entertainment, and this is a region-free release, so you guys can watch this one on any Blu-ray player. There's no region code locking or anything like that on this. It's a movie here called Next of Kin. For the life of me, I can't remember if it was the mother or the father who died, but essentially, though, this girl ends up inheriting this house. There's this huge mansion, and I think it was the father, and he ended up turning into, or the mother, like I said, I can't remember for sure, but essentially, though, the house was turned into an old folks' home where it has a whole bunch of tenants and everything in it. And it's essentially, though, this girl who goes back to the house, and she's trying to kind of figure out what she's going to do and how she's going to run the whole thing and everything. But right when she gets back there, this one person ends up dying in this bathtub, and there's some really creepy images in this movie. It's one of those movies full of all these creepy images, and she's having these really trippy dreams and all kinds of stuff. But essentially, though, the second she goes back, weird things start to happen, and it's like she hasn't been to this place in a really long time, and it's kind of her trying to figure out exactly what is going on and everything, why more and more weird things go on throughout this movie. This has on here, though, a commentary track on here with the director, commentary track with the cast members, John Jarratt, who is from the Wolf Creek films, and some of the other cast members. A whole bunch of different featurettes, extended interviews from Not Quite Hollywood, the documentary on Australian films, the German trailer, deleted scenes, VHS trailer, but really, really great release here on this one. It's another one here from Umbrella Entertainment. This is from their Beyond Genres volume, the World on Film Beyond Genres, and this is the volume 6, and this is a really cool movie. I've always loved this movie called The Quiet Earth. This is a Last Man on Earth style film. It's about this guy who ends up waking up, and he's the scientist, and he wakes up. He's kind of noticing, he notices that there's no one around. He doesn't know what has happened, and it's kind of like it's very similar, like I said, to Last Man on Earth, but it's much more with a really art take on everything, like the way it's shot and everything. But essentially, though, it's kind of him trying to figure out what had happened and sort of trying to keep things running okay, because there's things that could go really, really wrong if he doesn't figure them out. And it's also a very trippy movie. It has some really trippy stuff happen, but essentially, though, he ends up coming across some other people, and they're also also becomes like these triangles and problems that are happening, and like it is a really, really, honestly, probably one of the top, you know, in my opinion, of the Last Man on Earth film, like type of films, because there's been like a lot of different ones. I think my favorite, you know, Last Man on Earth one about, you know, ones was Night of the Comet. That's like one of my favorite ones to watch. This is probably like second or third. I don't know. I always really like this movie. This has on here though a commentary track on here with the writer and producer, as well as a restoration trail about restoring this release, as well as a theatrical trail on this one. But if you guys like Last Man on Earth films, that kind of style, definitely check that out. The next one here is from Via Vision. I believe, yeah, Via Vision, and this is an Australian release as well. This is a region-free release as well, so you guys can import this one and play this one on American Blu-ray players. You don't have to have like an all-region player or anything like that to watch this one. And this is Channel Zero, No End House, and this is the complete second season of Channel Zero. And this is one of those series where it doesn't matter if you haven't seen the first season. They're all, you know, different stories for each season. So the one was about this TV series. This one is basically, though, about this kind of like notorious haunted house where people would get like ads on their phone about it, like the creepy images of this house and weird like images and everything, and then like people are all kind of talking about it, and it's basically the kids in this town, this one girl and her friends are starting to get like the images on their phone, and they like all talking about they want to find where it is. The very first episode though, they track it down because like an address you know, was shown on the TV, and of course they go into this place. And they go in there, and it's like basically you have to go through like these 6 rooms and everything, and essentially though, it's like where it goes is like they go through them, the one girl, to the final door, and this is in the very first episode, and then things have changed in the world, and it's kind of like somebody who was said to have been dead is now back, and it's kind of, that's where the show really picks up. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's actually a really, really well done show. I have only, you know, I saw most of the first season, but I'm definitely going to continue watching through this. This is a really, really, so what I've seen so far is very cool. Like I said, this is like a region-free release. You guys can watch this one on any player. The next one here, this is from Turbine Media. Now this one though is limited to 2,000 copies. This is a German release, but this one though is for The Hills Have Eyes. Now keep in mind with this one though, you actually have to have a region-free player, so you have to be able to either be in the Region B coding zone, or have a, you know, a player that will play Region A, B, and C discs, or a Region B player. So this one will not play on a US Blu-ray player unless you have a region-free player. But this is Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. Really cool release. And the thing that's really cool about this is it actually includes, and I love the images of the mountains here, it actually includes you know, the Blu-ray, the DVD, and actually the soundtrack to the movie, which is kind of cool because I never even knew that they had a release of the music from this, and it's really cool music in this movie. And it's essentially though, this is about a family who end up going through the you know, they're kind of trying to, they find out about this shortcut, and of course, though, you know, going through a shortcut is not a good thing, and they go through this shortcut where they end up, you know, getting, you know, breaking down because of something that was in the middle of the road. And of course, you know that there's these cannibals and Michael Berryman's and his family all out there, and it's of them breaking down out there and being hunted by them and taunted and everything. It is a great movie. You know, I like the remake of this movie as well, but nothing tops the original to me because Michael Berryman was so cool. I mean, the remake kind of took things a little more serious. This one had some kind of goofy stuff, but this, I think this was like, Wes Craven did like Last House on the Left, and then I think it was this movie, I believe. But, you know, really cool release, and like I said, it's limited to 2,000 copies of this one. The next one here, this is from, I believe this is from Cape Light Pictures. Is it Cape Light Pictures or Cape Light Films? I'll have a link below, though, for all these, just so I make sure I get everything correct. Yeah, Cape Light Pictures. This is the media book here of Beyond Re-Animator. This is the 3rd film in the Re-Animator series. And I always really liked this one. I recently saw this one again, too. And I don't know. I thought this was actually a really, really good sequel. And probably one of my favorite of the 2 sequels to watch, just because I love the settings. It's, you know, Jeffrey Combs' character, you know, Herbert West, who's in prison because of what happens in the first movie. He was put into prison. And it's kind of him doing weird experiments. But in the beginning of this movie, though, this one kid's father ended up dying because of this experiment, and he ended up dropping one of the syringes of the stuff that he was injecting to bring bodies back. And this kid for years was like wanted to find Jeffrey Combs' character, and he ended up, you know, getting a job at the same prison he was because he wanted to work with him, and because he knew what this he had a feeling the serum stuff was something. So, and he actually brings it back to him, and then when he gets back there, they start doing weird experiments in the prison. But I don't know, this is one I always really like, this one. And in here, though, like I said, this is the media book, so it has you know, really cool pictures and stuff from the movie. I really love media books. There's some, you know, this is a really cool one. You see some of the ones that I can show. This is just a very cool movie, and like, I don't know, I love, like I said, I love the setting to this. I love the prison setting. I think it really works for this film. It's one I would highly recommend you guys check out if you have not seen this. And the next one here is a from a company called Cinema Obscura, and this is a region-free release as well, so this one will play on U.S. players as well, no problem. It's a movie here called, well, the DVD, though, is region locked, but the Blu-ray will play fine. But this is called Deadly Games. This is one I had wanted to see for a long time. This is about, it's really cool music in this as well. This is a French film about this kid who like lives in this mansion with his grandfather, and it's kind of like a he kind of reminds me like of a Richie Rich kind of kid, because he has like all kinds of like elaborate games and like these big toy rooms and all this kind of like elaborate stuff. But one night, though, this crazy person dressed as Santa Claus comes down the chimney, and he's like deranged. You know, this guy is nuts, and it's kind of him trying to protect and like, you know, survive with the grandfather and all of the crazy things that go on that night. It's a really cool movie, and I love this release of this. Like, the images inside here are so cool. It's like, this is one, like, I heard about this one a while back and had always wanted to see this, so I was really glad to get to check this one out. Like I said, though, the Blu-ray of this is region-free. A lot of times, though, when the Blu-rays are region-free, the actual discs, though, the DVDs are region-locked, though. But the Blu-rays, though, I checked all of them, too, you know, on my standard, you know, American player. For the two ones that I was talking about, the only one, like I said, that was region-locked was the Hills Have Eyes here. And the next ones here are from Wild Eye Releasing, and this is a movie here called Mrs. Claus. And this is essentially, though, about these, like, it's set in a sorority house. And these, like, the one girls are all kind of giving each other a lot of crap and a lot of problems and everything. And they pull, like, this prank on this one girl, and she ends up getting really mad. And the girl that they, you know, that pulls the prank, she ends up going crazy and killing her. And then she ends up hanging herself. And it's set years later, and the girl who ended up, you know, getting killed, you know, her sister now is going to the same, you know, sorority, and it's kind of her going there, and everyone there is kind of like, well, you sure you really want to go here, because your sister was murdered here and everything? But she's like, no, I want to do this. But of course, though, right when she gets there, she starts getting these weird emails and these, like, sort of like threats and stuff like that, and it's, you know, people start dying off there. And it, you know, this movie really focuses on the gore. They did a really good job on the gore effects. There is some really crazy stuff that happens in this that is really, really well done. But it's like an old school slasher film. Kaylee Williams was in this movie. It was really cool to see. That's one of the reasons I wanted to see it too. I worked with her on Zombie Babies years back in a movie called The Lashman. Brinke Stevens is also in this film. But this has on here, though, a director's commentary on this. The next one here is a movie called Ouija Death Trap, and this is from Wild Eye Releasing as well. This is about a this kind of like haunted house type place. The one girl like just started working there, and she ends up going with her friends, and there she's taking the camera, and she kind of wants to, like, you know, kind of look at it at night, see if like the rumors that they had heard are true about it. And they get there, though, and the guy who's like working security, like the kind of cleanup guy at the place, he goes there and starts like telling them things. He's like, well, these things happened here, and in the past this stuff happened, but please don't go in that room. That room is my room, and I don't want anyone in there messing with anything or touching anything in there. So you guys can be in here. I'm not going to call the police or anything. It's fine if you explore the house and see if there's any ghostly stuff. But they go in there, though, and he's kind of around throughout this movie. But they go in there, and they start doing stuff with a Ouija board, and then, of course, though, weird things start happening that night, and it was not a good thing. This is just a fun found footage film here. This one here is from Wild Eye as well. It's a movie here called Sheborg. I love the image on this. Really great cover on this. And this is basically, though, about this kind of like alien robot creature that ends up coming down to Earth. I believe, I'm trying to remember everything that happens. It ended up crash landing on the Earth, and like this other alien was like coming after it. But the alien though is like I said, it's part human, part like alien, and it's going and doing weird experiments on the people in the town, and like turning them into part alien, part like, you know, robotic creatures and stuff. So there's these crazy like effects and stuff, and the, you know, that are going on. But it's essentially these people that end up like, you know, getting sort of stuck in this whole situation. Why this like cyborg type alien creature is kind of coming after them. But it relies so much on the effects and everything, and the effects were really, really well done on this. But this has on here though behind the scenes documentary on this, music videos as well as trailers on this. This one is from Wild Eye as well. Like I said, a whole bunch of Wild Eye titles to show. Is a movie here called The Sitter, and this is about this. This is a different concept, because normally it's like someone's like babysitting or something. This one, this girl ends up, you know, finding out about this job and it would be like, I think it was like $600 or something she's going to get paid to stay at this, you know, huge mansion, while this couple was going to be going out to like some kind of a meeting or something, some kind of conference, and they have to go there and guard the cat. And that's all it is just watch this cat. But of course, you don't even see this cat. And they're like, oh, the cat may not be around or anything. You may not see it too much. Sometimes it goes outside and everything. But you just have to sort of stay in the house. And I love the way the guy's like explaining things. He's like, go down to the wine cellar. You can have whatever you want. And I don't know, that was the best stuff, the way he was explaining things. But he's like telling about all the things in the house. But of course, though, there's somebody outside of the house right when they leave, like lurking and looking in the house. It's kind of like what ends up happening, because like weird things start happening in the house and stuff, and you can tell somebody's kind of lurking around. This has on here though a short film on this one as well as trailers, and this one here is from Wild Eye as well, called "Blessed the Children Are." Blessed Are the Children. Yeah, Blessed Are the Children, and this is about this girl who's going in for an abortion, and there's all kind of like picketers outside and people who are like, you know, holding up those signs and everything, and she ends up going to have the abortion. But after she's leaving, there ends up being these weird people out there, like I said, but they're wearing like these creepy masks, like this sort of like doll kind of mask. And it's essentially, though, when she goes back, it's her and her friends are kind of being stalked by these people, and it's like they're all kind of like coming after them, and it's all them kind of trying to survive and everything. This is a really crazy movie. It has on here a commentary track on here, extended ending, a prologue, deleted scenes, gag reel, retro TV spots and trailers, so a lot of different features on this. This one from Wild Eye is a movie called Cargo, and this is all set in a storage cargo container, and this is about this guy who ends up waking up in the storage container. Like I said, it's literally all in that. It's kind of like the movie Buried and the one Julian Hough movie called, I think, Curve, I think. I don't know, I like movies like that when they're all kind of set in one thing, and it's kind of him. He's in this, this businessman is like in this storage crate, and he has his phone there. He's kind of getting calls, and he's like told that he has to get this, he has to pay this money, and he's like he's like making calls and stuff, trying to essentially figure out if he can figure out who these people are that are keeping him held there, and he wants to try and have people on the outside kind of go after them. That's what he's kind of trying to do. But when inside the container, though, he's also being forced to do stuff like pull his teeth out, and there's all sorts of weird things that are happening to him as well, because like they're doing weird stuff to him while he's in this crate. But this has on here a cast commentary as well as trailers. This one is an anthology series, an anthology film from Wild Eye called Welcome to Hell. One of the segments on this has Bill Oberst Jr. and Felissa Rose is one of them as well. And this is a pretty cool one. This was like this couple gets this tape and they're all watching the segments and everything. I'm trying to remember all the segments in this. I remember like one was like I think it was like an investigating a murder. It's like all different ones, and they all range from like, some of them were like 5 minutes and some of them were like 15, 20 minutes or so on it. I don't know, I always love, anthology series where it's all different ones and stuff. And the Bill Oberst Jr. one was the one I think was probably one of my favorite ones on this one. But I think it's like maybe 8 or 9 different segments or something like that on this one. And this one has trailers on this. And this one here is called Dead Love. And this was an interesting one. This was like about, I was kind of confused the way it was starting. This is from Wild Eye as well. It was starting because it was like, I couldn't tell if it was showing things out of order a little bit. But it's essentially, though, this I keep mixing up, so I watch so many things. I keep remembering if it was the mother or the father that died. Like I said, because of that, there's a lot of different movies with that in it, so I'm kind of mixing them all up. But this was like a guy who's going to a funeral home because I think it was his mother or father. Like I said, I can't remember. There's too many movies with people that had died. But essentially, though, the funeral director, who's this woman, she's like kind of talking to her mother, and she's like, she sees this guy who's there for making the funeral arrangements, and she's like, that's the man I love. I'm going to marry him, and he's going to be mine and everything. And it's essentially him, her talking to him, trying to start like a relationship. But of course, though, there's a lot of weird things going on with this funeral director woman. And even with the mother, there's like something off, and you're kind of like, well, is the mother there? Or what is going on with some of this? It's one of those ones that really leaves stuff like, you start finding out more and more about this one as it goes along. But it was definitely a very interesting concept. This one has trailers on this. And this one here is called Mermaid Song from Wildeye Releasing. This is a set. I think this was set in the 1930s during the Great Depression. This is essentially, though, a sort of a take on like the Little Mermaid story, kind of like a little bit. And this is basically, though, about this girl who was a mermaid, and like because she went on land and like became human, these other mermaids were kind of coming after her and like wanted to bring her back to the sea. Or like they had a thing where it's like you have to replace, since if you're a mermaid, you have to replace yourself with like a human that like replaces you and kind of turns into a mermaid in your place. But this weird like creepy woman is kind of coming to bring this mermaid back because she didn't like make the replacement. But she ends up having this kid, though, and it's like years later this kid is a mermaid and doesn't know it, but then this weird woman is coming back around again. And it's like they have this kind of like kind of show that they put on like in this house. It's like has like this like sort of like dance kind of shows and things like that are in the house. But of course it's all the weird stuff that is going on, with this girl and like this other, like I said, that old woman coming back again. It's hard to explain, but it was really like really done well, though, for having it set in the 30s and everything, with the look and everything on this. And then this one here is from a company called Verbeeden Video. This is an interesting movie. This is the 30th anniversary edition of a movie here called Split. And this is a this is, I think, from 1989. This has on here the brand new transfer from the 16mm negative, as well as the never before seen extended cut of the film, which is I think like 20 some minutes longer, and it has unused footage, interviews on here with the actors, as well as the theatrical trailer remastered. But this is like a super trippy movie. It's kind of like this guy you can like, who's trying to tell about like technology and how like technology's gonna, he goes and like changes bodies sort of, and he's like changes his look and everything, and he goes around and rambling and telling people about how like technology is going to destroy the world, and he's being watched by these monitors in this weird kind of like weird type of setting where it's like these people are all watching, and this guy at the computer, and this like the technology is watching him talk about how technology is going to destroy the world, and they end up wanting to track this guy down. And it's like this weird like robotic creature that's the one who's like the head, and he's like saying that technology is going to rule the world, and he wants to bring this guy back and get rid of him from spreading this stuff around and letting people know about what is to come in the world. This is like really interesting, super trippy movie with super trippy segments and everything that happens in this. This one I just wanted you guys know is available, and this is from Trauma, and this is a movie here called Moonshine Meat Market Mayhem. And the thing that's so cool about this one was I talked about this and reviewed this one a while back, when they sent like an early copy, like before it had like a release date or anything. But it has on here, they actually put my quote on here, like a deranged, perverted, weird Mad Max. And it says right down there, cool duder. So it's just so cool to have a quote on here. I had a quote years back as well on one of their DVD releases of Death by Temptation. I don't remember exactly what it was I had on it, but it was like one of the first time I ever was quoted, and I think it was quoted on like some movie that Sony put out, like I can't remember, was it a Natasha Kinsey movie or something, like Natasha Richardson movie, something like that. But I think this might be the third time I ever had a quote on a cover, so this is really cool. I just want to like mention about that. This has on here too a introduction by Lloyd Kaufman on this one, which I always love Lloyd Kaufman's introductions. That's such a cool thing. And the last one here is from a company called boomcult.com. It's a movie here. Well, it's the vinyl soundtrack of it, as well as the movie, is included as well on a DVD. This is called Danger Diva, Give Me Some Analog. And this is like I said, it has the vinyl with all the music from the movie, as well as the actual film, which is like I think it's about an hour and 40 minutes. This is like about this girl who's like a sort of like a lounge singer in this, not really a lounge singer, but like in this rock band. But she gets into certain like arguments with the band and like with the management and everything, and kind of isn't happy the way things are going, and something ends up happening. She ends up getting arrested, and she gets seen by this guy who comes in there, and he's like works for like management, like the management of this record label, sort of like that. And he's saying, well, I can help you become super famous, and he has this like implantation device which will help her make her sing and have like a voice that can almost control people. And it's kind of like these weird type of scientific things that are being done, and her kind of controlling things, but she doesn't really like the way things are going. It's a very, very trippy, out there movie, and like I said, I have a link below if you guys are interested in like checking this out and seeing the trailer and everything. But anyway, though, guys, that's all for their horror update video. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.